Yo, yo, yo. What's up, my boy? It's
What's going
Thanksgiving
on?
week. It's Thanksgiving week. It's the final week of the regular season. It's
Yes,
upon
sir.
us. It's over with. It's wrapped up. It's put a bow on it.
Yep.
I can't believe it's here. I mean, it flies by, man. And it's
Yep.
like we don't wish it away, but it just does sometimes, and it just that train never stops rolling once the season
You get
starts.
just get caught up in your team, what's going on around the country, playoffs, all of that stuff, and then like you say, next thing you know, and bam, football every day, and then all of a sudden it comes to a conclusion.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how fast it really does go. That's why it's like you got to enjoy every Saturday for what it is, whether it's watching, your team play, be successful like you guys, struggle like us, kind of turn it around, or like the Noles just have a complete obliterated season, or just, the national, landscape. We knew this year was going to be different just because of the new 12 team playoff, and it was going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of upsets, a lot of things that could just happen, and we've kind of gotten that, especially last week with the SEC chaos implosion.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll start that off obviously by my Florida Gators completely doing a 180 from about 4 or 5 weeks ago when the Scott Strickland memo came out about Billy was going to be the coach next year. I obviously wasn't happy about it. More so because of I just didn't think I thought DJ was done for the year after the Georgia game was what I thought. So I'm sitting here thinking, if DJ's not going to be there, we're going to lose these next 4 games. Hell, we'll probably even lose the Florida State game with the Yale quarterback. I'll keep calling him. And so I just was like, I don't have any stock or faith in this guy. Even though at times the team had played well and they changed some things up in that early bye week and the defense got better. I got to give the guy credit. And like I say, I was rooting for Billy as a person. I like him as a coach. It's more so, can you adapt, change, do things different? And the one thing those kids kind of just they played for him. And you see what DJ Lagway can bring you at when you have a competent quarterback who can make big plays, can do for an offense. And like I say, the defense has really been the story, in my opinion. Has been playing great. A lot of people, I guess, in that Ole Miss game kind of want to give credit to where Ole Miss made mistakes. And like, I'm just like, sometimes it's like, that's a little like the Gators. Yeah, Ole Miss might have not have ran some of those great third or fourth and ones with Pegues, but that's what Lane called. And like I said, if they would have converted those, it'd have been like, oh, look at these great calls, So it's like it goes both ways a lot of times. And I think sometimes the credit goes towards Ole Miss screwing up versus the Gators making plays. And I think they made enough plays in that game. I think they made big plays in the game. And like I say, I give credit to them. Like I say, they pulled the big time upset that we both didn't see. We thought they could maybe play with them, but we just felt like that Ole Miss defense was going to be too much for them.
Well, I think the biggest changes has been simplifying the defense and just letting them attack and let them get downfield and just say, you know what, we're going to live by it, die by it, and not overcomplicating the scheme. And, that and just having the younger, hungry guys out there. Everybody keeps talking about the injuries, 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 but it looks like that's probably been one of the better reasons of why they've been playing so good. Guys aren't entitled. I mean, now guys are going to be looking for the bag, of course, those freshmen and, guys like that. But they've just kept it simplified and go into the game, even at running back. You see Montreal running different because he
Yeah.
knows those two guys in front of him. You look at how he's been running the last 2 weeks versus after the Miami game, after he got hurt. But even when he was playing, it's like, dude, if you're not 100%, you shouldn't be out there. And I get it. It's one of those, they probably want him out there because he has the experience over Jacoby and Ball and, you blitz pickup and stuff like that. But, this past week, they did whatever they had to do to win. Like you say, they made big plays. They, Ole Miss did give them opportunities,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but they took advantage of the opportunities.
Yeah.
Like you said, it goes both ways. I mean, if you look at the Ole Miss, you miss a field goal.
Yeah, their
You
red
got
zone was terrible.
yeah, they were I think 0 for 3 in the red zone. You missed they missed big throws in the red zone. They muffed the punt when it was 14-14.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was big too.
know
That
if
led us to at least
I
because I was saying that was in the third quarter where we did absolutely nothing and we still
right.
got 3
So, but
points.
I mean, you flipped the field on it. The muff punt, you got it in their territory, 30, 40 yards. I think I had it written down, but I think on the Pegues runs going into the game, they were 12 for 12 on him getting either in the end
Yep.
zone for a touchdown or converting a third or fourth down. But he has to hit it up the middle. You're 300 pounds, dude. You got to at some point you
Yeah,
got
they
to
were
say
running
hit it
edge
up the
run. They're running
middle.
edge runs, and they
Well, I
had
mean,
Dart being like a lead blocker on one of them too.
right.
Like,
He
was
does
nuts.
that, but the numbers showed, and then they had it. There was a couple of runs. If he would have ran up the middle, he would have had the first down. But like
Right.
I said, you just got to give Florida credit for making the plays and just keeping it close. And they're playing that bend but don't break defense. That's the biggest thing. Let's not give up the touchdown. We'll give up in between the 20s because if you look at Jackson Dart's numbers, they're actually really good. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
because if
just
you take out the 2 interceptions at the end of the game,
yeah,
in
exactly.
the first 3 quarters, his numbers are lights out. He was the only one really after Trey Harris went out. He had 70 yards rushing and almost 300 yards passing. And then at the end of the game, I don't know what the hell he was doing. He was just trying to play hero ball, I thought, just
Yeah.
even it up to the end zone.
Yeah,
And
he was bad. He was bad on that last
but,
drive for
but,
sure.
but I feel like that's a lot of these quarterbacks today. That's just the offenses that they run. It's that boom or bust mentality instead of saying, you know what, we got a minute and change left. They're in great position on the Florida side of the territory. You really didn't need to throw it up as much as he did, trying to get the big play. It's one thing if Trey Harris was in the game and you're throwing it up to your big target that either is going to play the 50-50 ball, either he's going to catch it or he's not. But, like I say, you just give credit to Florida for coming out and playing hard. I still think I still question keeping Billy. But having DJ there and flipping a bunch of recruits this past week, the week before and now, we're flipping
Well,
guys, he's not
that's
going
the
anywhere.
I guess that's the more thing of like, okay, that goes to show you, I guess, how big of a negative that can be for recruits and even like portal
Yeah.
guys or whatever. Like now all of a sudden, just in a quick, even after the Texas freaking blowout, you know what I'm saying? Think about that.
Yeah.
Like we went from playing with Georgia, looking like Lagway was going to do something in the
Mm-hmm.
Georgia game, to getting hurt, to where you end up losing the Georgia game, and then you go in the next week to Texas, and Lagway's not going. You get the letter on Friday that Billy's going to be your coach. You go and get steamrolled by Texas, just blown out. So now you're just like, are you serious? So then you never like if here's the thing. Here's how crazy life is. If Lagway is seriously hurt and doesn't play in LSU and Ole Miss, we lose those games. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. I don't
I,
care how good the defense is playing. You're not going to win with that other quarterback.
it's just
Like,
crazy. It was crazy to me the last 2 weeks. Like I know what Ole Miss does on defense. They're going to rush you with your front four.
yeah.
But for the life of me, for 2 weeks in a row, that guy can't run, and you steady don't blitz him.
Yeah.
Like
He's
I
good right now with the injury. He's obviously here's the thing about DJ too. He doesn't look to run first. He's one of those quarterbacks of like, if
right.
the running lane's there, like obviously in high school, his high school stats were stupid just because it's like, okay, nothing's there, and he runs for 80 yards. But like here in the previous before he got hurt, he would run, pick up good yards. All of a sudden, he's a long
Yeah. No,
strider,
no, no, no. I'm
20,
not
20 yards.
saying that. All I'm saying
Yeah,
is
yeah.
as a
Just bring
defensive
pressure on a guy
coordinator.
who's. Here's the other thing. How hurt was he, man? Like
Yeah.
that's like
He probably it was probably one of those things where he never got hurt before.
brought the
And he
stretcher
pulled
out in Georgia, man. I was
Yeah,
like,
he probably never been seriously hurt. He hurt his hamstring, and he had no idea if he was living or dying.
yeah, I mean, obviously, I had the hamstring injury in college, which was, it still bothers me to this day because I never got any kind of surgery on it. But like, if I do something fast paced, which I'm not doing much anymore of, I'll get a little twinge in my hammy, and I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
and then it'll be sore for a couple of days,
yeah.
Or
But I
the
think
last
in
time
that
we tried to
moment
play
he just.
pickup basketball, I
But
couldn't run up the court.
but that's my point of, if you're a defensive coordinator, I'm not saying blitz every play, but I'm putting pressure on him. And when they did, they got to him. And I get you're scared of the deep ball, But if I got a quarterback I know that's out there that's a true freshman and he's quasi injured or whatever you want to say, we can see he really can't move. He's not as explosive as he was before the injury.
Right.
And
Yeah. He hadn't really
but he's
tried to
still
do anything.
moving. He's still moving in the quarter in the pocket,
Yeah.
but
So
it's just,
he's doing that really well. And like he's
yeah,
doing that at a all-time high level of a
but
freshman
I,
being able to maneuver in the pocket to
yeah,
create that
but
extra second.
you got to give the offensive line a lot of
No,
credit too,
the offense and defensive lines have played
Yeah,
out of this world, dude. I
dude,
mean,
that has been the key. I've been telling me and
like
you've
this
been
is
talking
not
about
even
that
this is
offline.
not even this is not even like
No,
I don't know what they gave them. Like
even your boy, even your boy that you were ready to run out of there week one.
Crenshaw Dixon.
No. George, the big block he had on the
No,
swing pass
yeah, no. Also,
for ball.
the San Diego State transfer, I was on him because I heard all preseason camp like this guy can't block anybody, and
Yeah.
Crenshaw Dixon's actually came. He's done a big huge
I
step
think
up.
once again they probably simplified it on the offensive line. They're just like, you know what, you block this guy, like because even as people really don't know offensive line play, you still could overcomplicate the offensive line play with your blocking scheme on who's doing what and pressure. But when they only rush forward, it makes it easy to where you figure out who your guy is and you're not trading off guys and combo blocks and stuff like that. And they've tightened that up a little bit as well. But like you say, you got to give Florida credit. They the last couple of weeks they've turned it up on and off the field, and apparently they've opened the war chest to start paying people to come
Yeah,
in.
no,
So
like I say, that's the other flip side. Like I was saying too, the 180 of when that the Scott Strickland memo went out, and then the blowout at Texas, but then Lagway comes back and we beat LSU at Ole Miss. Boom, you're flipping recruits. They literally have flipped so many recruits in the last 2 weeks that they went from 51 in the rankings to 17, and they're in the mix for about 2 or 3 more flips, including 5-star offensive lineman from Reigns who's committed to Florida State, another raid from Mike Norvell.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. I told you the other week I didn't think they were going to stay. I figured they would probably get in the 20s. It's still at the end of the day, it's still the University of Florida. We're not talking about
the big one will be Jamie. Jamie's going to decide next week if you flip Jamie French, the 5-star out of Mandarin who's committed to Texas, like, and so you get both Duval boys. That would be huge. Yep. Then you're talking maybe a couple more guys, and then you're maybe a top 10 class. So
yeah, it's just all about getting hot and
that's what
winning.
I'm saying.
One winning helps.
No, exactly. That's
one
exactly
winning
what it
helps,
is.
and two, you gotta open up the piggy bank. I mean, it is what it is. I still see.
You got to keep your roster in tow.
It's funny because you still see people talking about from other schools talking about how they hate NIL and this and that. It's like, no, the reason why you hate NIL is because you were getting the kids before, and now the kids are making business decisions. I mean, you look at the Bryce Underwood situation. I knew there was no way in hell he was going to LSU.
Turning out $10 million. Yeah,
dude. If the numbers are real, and Portnoy,
they seem real now after that.
Yeah, the Larry Ellison and the Jay Portnoy situation where you got two money guys. As long as the money is real, there's no way he's going to LSU. He could love LSU. He could want to go to LSU, but
LSU's got to come back with $12 million.
Easy. There's no way he's going to LSU. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, you better get Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow combined 15 mil and bring them. That's what you're like.
Yeah,
that's what's crazy.
That's what it is now.
That's what I'm saying. When are like former players going to put together like side pots to basically if they would do that? That'll be crazy to think.
I mean,
those guys are greedy. Those guys are greedy. They don't really care about national championships.
I mean, not just
some
greedy,
do.
but
I know.
It's still your money. You know what I'm saying? Like how much you're willing.
See, that's what I'm saying. These people that like they live and die by that. Like listening to that, the lady. I don't care about whatever. I need national championships.
Yeah,
so
Larry,
my husband's one of the richest men in the world.
I was about to say it's her husband's money. Larry Ellison didn't even go to Michigan.
Yeah, he went to Illinois. But here's the other thing too.
Happy life, I guess.
You know who Larry Ellison, what his part ownership is too.
Yeah, he's Oracle.
Well, he's with Paramount Plus, which is now CBS, which owns the Big Ten rights. So you're obviously he's putting in money in his product too, because he's bringing people to watch Bryce Underwood.
But I wonder if that's going to be a conflict of interest.
There's got to be some points where, like I say, all this is brand new. So it's like do it while you can, because it's the Wild West until they put caps on it, until they figure stuff out. Like,
Yeah, and
who
that's
can
on
spend?
like I say, that's on the NCAA and the governing body and all of that stuff for not jumping ahead of it.
Yeah, no, like I say, I totally agree. Like I said, I said 7-5 at the beginning of the year. I didn't think we'd get there after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. You know, you got to go knock off the Noles this week. You go 7-5, you get to that bowl game, you get those extra practices, you win another game in the bowl game, 8-5. You'll take that all day. My biggest thing is what I wanted to see was, you know, can you compete against the big boys? How far away are we? You know, so you go back to those games where you're playing these teams that are potentially in the playoffs, like a Tennessee, like a Georgia, like a Ole Miss, like a LSU. You know, obviously, I would have liked to have played Miami and Texas A&M better, but that was like eons ago. And your team's different. You had Mertz going. So you look at those Tennessee, Georgias, you're like, okay, we competed, and obviously the Tennessee game took them to overtime, maybe had a shot to win. Georgia, that game got sideways because your quarterback got hurt. But then you go and beat LSU and Ole Miss, two teams that were in one was in the playoff and you knocked them out. The other kind of was like on the fringe. You kind of knocked them out too. So like that shows me progress to be like, hey, we can play with these guys. Now let's build around this team. Let's get some recruits around DJ. Let's get some portal, you know, free agency spot, and then let's go compete next year. So like I say, finish out the year, arrow pointing up. I'm good with it. On the flip side, the other team that we're playing this weekend, I figure we'll switch it up and we'll just go right into Florida State, Florida breakdown, because like why not? Like yeah, congratulations, Florida State. You got your second win. You know, I don't know what to say about it. Croman Hoke had over 200 yards passing. This is what you expected. It's Charleston Southern. They were a one-win team. So like I said, we can go straight into the Florida State breakdown if you want to, Bubby, and then we'll talk about the Canes and Wake and move on to the whatever topics. I mean, what do you think? Florida State, do they got a shot? Obviously, it's a rivalry game. What are you thinking on Florida State this weekend?
I mean, I want to say no, but it is a rivalry game and it is at Doak. And, you know, when you throw in the element of you want bragging rights over your friends, like,
Right.
you know, that's what you want, regardless if Florida State season's done or whatever. You want the bragging rights over your friends. I just don't think they have a competent quarterback. They don't have a competent scheme on offense. The only way Florida State has an opportunity to win is if Florida just blows it and just turns the ball over and gives them great opportunity to put points on the board. Just say, you know, turning it over, giving them in the red zone or on the Florida side of the field. But I just don't see Florida State winning. It's just tough, man. It's just tough.
Yeah.
I think those kids are just ready for the season to end. The coaches are ready for the season to end. Everyone in Tallahassee is just ready for the season to end. And this is going to be the icing of the cake of your season ending, which is, you know, you
I hope
want
to
it
be
competitive.
celebrating.
Like I say, the only way Florida, if I'm the DC for Florida State, I'm blitzing off the bus. I'm like not giving DJ any opportunity to sit back there. And guess what? If he throws a couple and hits him over your head deep downfield, that's just what you got to live with. But if they're not going to blitz Florida and just slow the run game down, kind of what OU did to Bama this week, where they was just, hey, everyone get upfield. If they're not doing that, it could get ugly in Tallahassee.
Yeah, no, like I say, I feel like Florida State still, like, obviously they finally scored, you know, more than 24 points. You know, you knew that was going to happen against Charleston Southern. So it's not like they found something on offense. They just played against a team that couldn't stop big time playmakers, you know. So the way the defense has played for the Gators, I just can't see Croman Hoke and those guys like making it too much of a huge challenge where they're going to put up a lot of points. So
I don't think it's these guys. From what I saw, it's just Croman Hoke. He's going the whole way.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, they haven't been able to run the ball all year. We've been pretty good, rock solid against the run. Going back to that, like I say, going back to the Ole Miss game, you know, we talked about it, you know, how many categories that Ole Miss was in the top of the defenses in there, you know, all like you can't run the ball on them. The Gators ran for 160 on them. You know, like the Gators have been able to run the ball with whether it be Jaden Ball, whether it be now Montrell's back, whether it be Jacoby Jackson. So I feel like we're going to be able to establish the run. And then hopefully that's going to open up, those shot plays that we talk about all the time with DJ. So if you do blitz, I invite it. Hopefully they can protect it enough to get over the top with DK and Badger because they've been doing it, all year. So like I say, I think I think Florida State's in a bind in a sense. So it's like if Florida doesn't just proverbial screw it up, they should win the game. And hopefully they do cover the number and we're celebrating with, somebody planting the flag in the 50-yard line, something like that. Because like Chauncey Gardner, when Willie Taggart came in there and said, "Man, don't do that, man. Don't do that. Don't do that." But hopefully we're doing something like that. But I think our trajectory's up. Theirs is down, like you said before, just a minute ago. Like they're ready for this thing to end. They're ready for it to be over with. They probably wish the game was at noon so they could be done sooner, But like we got to wait till 7:00 at night. So they'll be over in the midnight hours. They can turn in their pads. And their
gear. Man. I don't even know how the hell we're going to recap the Florida State season.
Like I say, we've kind of already recapped it in a sense. Like it's just
Well, I mean, recap it in the sense of
so bad, man.
Putting your finger on like what went wrong, like what were the reasons.
I can't believe it. It's just like unbelievable in a sense. Like I was literally thinking about it last night. Just like how. Where we were last year, literally 365 days, we're arguing about they lose Jordan Travis, but they're going into this game with Rodemaker, and it was a game for a little while where it was like, oh, this is not the same Florida State team that was just been running through the ACC. They get to the ACC championship game with the backup. They win on a interception late, kind of like with the linebackers and the wild turnovers. And Louisville was terrible that day offensively.
Yeah.
It's just this is not the same team.
Yeah, but I mean, you bring back, I think 4 of your 5 starters on the offensive line. You allegedly upgraded at running back, and you still had Toa Feely.
Yeah, way.
You lost some wide receivers, and you lost your tight end. But if you're allegedly getting 4 and 5 stars on the outside, I mean, all of that comes from experience, right? Those guys got to get on the field, but when you look at it, and defensively, you upgraded your defensive line.
But here's the crazy part. There's no way. Yeah, here's the thing. This is where they're vastly mistaken, and those guys are in the NFL now. Jordan Travis obviously was a great quarterback for that scheme.
I mean, with Verse and Fisk on,
exactly. But Trey Benson was really good. And
100%.
Obviously, we know that Keon and Johnny,
but not two. But still not 2-9.
No, I agree. They should be like, they should at least have 6 wins, dude. They should be like at least Florida. The Gators, they should be playing for a bowl game here. Like,
this should be there. Do we
agree?
Right. They should have 5 wins, and this game should be, can we get in the bowl or not? Should we be 6-6 or 5-7?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, it's unfathomable to where they are, like the games that they lost, like I say, it is what it is. Go Gators, beat the Noles. I even tried to get Ricky to come watch the game. He's not going to. I thought I wouldn't even talk trash because I feel bad for Florida State. Honestly, I do, but I don't. But I would even, for my friend, I would be like, I'll just watch the game. And if only way I'd talk trash is if Florida State started winning or something, But like, he said he's not going to participate, so I said, okay, I can't be mad at you. So it is what it is. Go Gators, beat the Noles. Florida State hate week. Thanksgiving week continues. All right, dog. Your boys, it's win or go home. Playoffs are already started for the Canes. They kind of started a little lackluster in the game against Wake, kind of like what they've been doing, and then they blow your doors open for 21 in the fourth and blow you out.
I wouldn't say lackluster, but it was just they gave up the first defense. They gave up the first possession to Wake on a couple missed assignments on the defense, on the defensive side, to make it 7-7, and then you have a huge, you kick a field goal, make it 10-7, and then the Canes get a big pick for Mish Powell to make it 17-7, and then you give up the next play, a kick for 100 yards to make it 17-14. But after that, I think the Canes pretty much controlled the game. They just didn't put it in the end zone. If you look at
third quarter, 20. It was 20-17. And going into half, and then like I say, the third quarter nothing, and then like the 22 barrage there.
Yeah, it was. At no point, I think the defense settled in on this game.
Yeah, I never felt like you guys were in trouble or anything.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying, but it's just like you're just watching it. I think for me, the problem is there's still opportunities out there that Cam's missing. And every week I say this, it's hard to criticize when he's playing at an all-time level. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, there are times where you're like, what do you just take the easy pass? Because there was a couple
Yeah.
plays where he's rolling out on one of the field goals when you're in the red zone, and Mark Fletcher's just standing there doing jumping jacks in front of him while they're both rolling out to the right. And if he just takes the easy check down from Mark Fletcher's at the 6-7
Yeah.
yard line, he walks in the end zone. But Cam's throwing it back across his body to the back of the end zone. That's incomplete. You settle for 3. And like I say, it's hard to criticize him. It's hard to criticize him.
Yeah,
But
no, for sure. He's playing he's playing great football. He's the
yeah,
great equalizer for you guys. It's just is what it
100%.
is. He makes everything right when
Yeah.
things are going bad, or even if you're
And,
down, whatever. Going back to
yeah.
like the Cal game, like he is the great eraser. Like he can erase all your mistakes
But there are
until
times,
you can't.
yeah, but there are times where you're just like, because even in the Georgia Tech game, if you go back and watch that first half, there are guys wide open, and he's just going for the home run, and you're like, dude, just drop it down to Arroyo, which they did this week. I was happy to see
Right.
they got Arroyo involved because he's been open the whole year. Like, if you go
Yeah,
back
no,
and watch a lot of the games,
he's
he's
been
a
big for
matchup
y'all for
nightmare.
sure. No, he's been
and
big.
and and that's where I get mad at Dawson at times. It's like, you have guys to put teams in binds, but you just got to put them in those binds. Like I say, who's matching up with Elijah Arroyo?
Yeah.
You can't put a safety on him because he's too fast. You can't put a linebacker on him. Can't put a corner on him. You just got to put him in those situations. But the running back room did, as a group, they had 228 yards as a group. Can't be mad at that. Jacoby
Yeah.
George had one of his better games of the year. Like, you just go through it. Like you say, it was just a late barrage of points. They had 14 points in 30 seconds
Yeah.
to pretty much put it away when they scored a touchdown. And then the kid that ran the earlier kickoff return fumbles on the kickoff return, and they get a quick, 14 points right there. It's just, you can't keep starting slow. I feel like the offense is starting slow. You just got to put points on those possessions. You just got to put points on the board. In the
Yeah.
first half, Wake had a
Start
17-play drive. So you can't, offensively, you can't do anything when the other team's having a 7-play drive. That's just, they're trying their best to eat the clock to keep Cam off the field. And I think that's part of it too. When they keep him off the field, he gets a little cold. And then when he gets on the field, he's just trying to make big plays instead of taking what the defense gives him.
Yeah, it was crazy. Even with that long drive, the possession, like the time of possession was literally dead even. It was 30 minutes to 29 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like I say, it's more so like, it just, what that can do is get you cold early and you're not able to generate stuff to get on top sooner. Like, it's always start fast, build the lead up, and then just hold on to it. That's just, that's the MO of successful football.
Now,
Start
this week,
fast. That's what I'm saying.
You better score every possession this week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we can go ahead and hop into the Syracuse breakdown.
Well.
Yeah, because like I say, that I agree. This is a weird game for me because it could be a very tricky game because it's on the road. The biggest deal is, like we will continue to say, it's going to come down to my boy Kyle McCord. Is he going to be good Kyle McCord or bad Kyle McCord? Because if he's on, that means Syracuse is going to be humming on offense and playing pretty well, and you're going to have to like you said, you're going to have to score and play tennis. You're going to have to go on serve.
Yeah.
If he's bad Kyle McCord and you get that Pitt Kyle McCord, then you blow their doors out. So I don't know what you're going to get, but you gotta play like you're going to get medium to mid Kyle McCord.
Their strength is kind of going against our strength / weakness. Our strength defensively is our defensive line. This week, the defensive line has to get pressure. They had to get the Kyle McCord. They got to hit him. They got to rattle him. They got to make him not be in rhythm. And then on the back end, the weakness of our defense is the secondary. Everyone knows that. I mean, hopefully Brown plays this week. They said he could have went last week, but they held him out. But, I mean, you can't expect your top corner who hasn't played since Florida to come out and be lights out. So that means Brown, Porter, and OJ Frederic are going to have all-world games at the corner position. But still, that's Oh, Frederick's been playing awesome.
Yeah, he's going to
So
get ACC rookie and
yeah, defensive
freshman and
rookie
all
of the
that stuff.
year.
Yeah.
You would think, but have you been seeing the awards list go out?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that on the No
Yeah,
Cam
we'll talk
Ward
about
on the
that in a minute.
on the quarterback
Yeah,
list.
but
Dylan
yeah,
Gabriel.
but
No
yeah,
Travis Hunter
it's
on the Thorpe Award. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those where they just got to come out, play fast, put points on the board, and hopefully Bain and the boys up front could get pressure and hit Kyle McCord. And you know, they got Syracuse has a good group of receivers. They pretty much keep it basic. They're not doing a lot of motions and stuff. Kyle's not gonna he can run, but he's not going to run. So you're going to hit a stationary target. And I'm curious to see what Lance Guidry dials up this week defensively. Are we going to send the linebackers? Are we going to have them more in coverage? Are we going to be like Ole Miss and depend on our front four? I could see them starting off probably blitzing a little bit, but if we could get pressure with our front four, I'm not really worried about it. Their run, on the flip side, Syracuse's run defense is god awful. So offensively, I think we shouldn't have problems. Offensively, we should be able to run the football. But then again, for the last 7 weeks, this has been everyone's Super Bowl. As people don't want to give Miami credit on anything, which is fine, but you can't sit here and say every team they've played in the last 7-8 weeks have put this game on a pedestal and this is their Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially, because you guys are the top dog in the ACC, so everybody wants a piece at you this year. You're the
you got their coach. You got their coach begging for game day to be there this week,
right? Fran Brown was.
Yeah, game day is not going to be there.
No,
there's so many other places they'd rather
it's going
be.
To college. Yeah, they're going to College Station for
sure.
100%.
But yeah, he's begging for it to come there, so you can't sit here and say that it's not.
He took a shot. He took a shot too at you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Talking about the common opponent, like, yeah, we beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
we beat them.
Fine.
But no, like I say, he's been kind of a character. I like him. He's a Georgia guy. He's been with Kirby and those guys. Like, yeah, I think that's the other thing. Syracuse defense has been not very good. Especially,
would you expect them to play at all-time high this week, though?
Exactly, and in a sense, that's the thing with picking your poison. You gotta, if you're gonna try to sell out to stop the run, that's where Cam can really like tear you apart. So you don't want to like you got to figure out which medicine you want to mess with, which poison are you picking. So, like I said, my biggest thing is can it get into a shootout to where a mistake happens, one way or the other, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we're down now late, or you got to make something happen, or do you start slow, like that's what your MO's been against like a Cal and all those teams, and you're coming back from behind, and trying to fight that, like, God dang, we're just behind, so we gotta go, and you press and something happens. So like I say, it's interesting to see.
But you gotta treat it like what's been crazy the last 3 weeks. We've both been saying it. Alabama, the OU game was a playoff game. Yeah. Ole Miss against Florida, that's a playoff game.
100%,
LSU
man.
versus Florida, that's a playoff game.
It takes me back to the Jaguars a couple of years ago when they were playing in that regular season where it was like, oh, all of a sudden they got hot and they're like, hey, you're in the playoffs now. You literally have to win out. You got to win out. You're in the playoffs. And they played it that way, and they won all those games and got into the playoffs. So, like, yeah, you got to get your mindset
it's been interesting now. These last 2 weekends.
We're done. If we lose, we're done.
But the last 2 weekends, not just speaking of Miami, but all these other teams, some of the teams I just listed,
no, for sure.
Like, dude, you
unfathomable, like unexcusable.
A&M, you can't lose to Auburn.
Unexcusable.
Like, you go down the list and you're like, hey, guys, you do realize, like,
yeah, well, like I say. This is a good segue pivot point to like the week 13 takeaways.
Hold on, who you got? Miami.
I got the Canes to win. I think it's going to be tight, and it could be closer down. But I think you guys still have got too much. Yeah, I think you win. The 11 could be tricky, but I think you could get a backdoor cover depending on if you're up 7.
Just get the W.
I think the Canes do win the game, but I think it could be hairy at points where it's like, whoa, all right, Kyle McCord's playing good, or unless Kyle McCord just comes out and it completely lights it up, where you're like, oh,
yeah, he's dropping balls. He's dropping balls in places where you're just like, where you just shrug your shoulders and you do the Jordan shrug, like, I mean, like, what can you do?
again, us talking about this whole thing is, would I be surprised if Miami lost? No, not at all, because it's a very losable game. But I think Miami wins the game. But they better come, not like Auburn, not like Bama,
you better come ready to play,
or not like Texas A&M.
Yep.
Not like Ole Miss, not like LSU. So BYU. So like, yeah, the
Colorado
Week 13. There you go. The Week 13 takeaways are, just that. It's just like what happened in these games. Like, the SEC, like Ole Miss losing to Florida. Yeah, the Gators are well improved. They're probably a little bit better than their record. All that.
You're not supposed to lose that game.
You shouldn't lose that game if you're Ole Miss and you're going to the playoffs. You shouldn't. But the unexcusable one is going to Norman, and losing by 3 touchdowns.
Dude, you can't. There's no way in the world they should be ranked 13 after that.
I'm like, wow. The problem is, like I say, all those other teams losing. It's like, so who do you put ahead of them?
I don't give a damn. I don't. Sponge, right now, who should be ranked higher, Ole Miss or Alabama?
Yeah, that 3-loss team. Yeah, definitely. I would say
Texas A&M or Alabama.
I mean, A&M. That's the problem. I got to. It's a horrible loss, but you got to give credit to still their wins. When they had the same losses.
I get what the argument is, but you can't lose to the worst team in your conference. Not just lose. It's one thing if it was like 23-21.
Auburn was actually the worst team in the conference, so it's
okay.
The next Oklahoma was the next worst.
Actually, Auburn beat Oklahoma, so Oklahoma is the worst team in the conference. Yeah. So
it's Mississippi State, but
you can't go to Norman. And
I don't disagree. I do not disagree.
Like all Auburn did, all Oklahoma did, they said, you know what? Y'all want to run the ball?
I'm looking at it right now. Like I said, they got Clemson right ahead of them at 12. Ole Miss is right behind them, and South Carolina's right behind them. They beat South Carolina, so that's a tough ask. Ole Miss, like I say, Ole Miss has some terrible losses as well. They didn't get 21. They didn't get 21.
ASU should be ahead of them.
Well, ASU is sitting there at 16. The problem is, again, when you go back to like some of the wins, like they've beaten Georgia, who's in the top 10. They've beaten, a couple other teams that are like ranked in the top 20.
It's just,
whereas ASU hadn't beaten anybody.
They're posturing with them being there.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Because here's the thing, we're already getting into the college football playoff talk. I'm telling you, if like SMU were to lose to Cal this week or something, or Miami and SMU go play, and then now you're talking about a 2-loss versus a 3-loss and all that, and who is SMU beating? Blah 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 blah. Like we'll get there. I'm not going to argue that today, but the one that's going to be tricky is what if USC upsets Notre Dame? You know what I'm saying?
They're out.
Like, that's what I'm saying with the Northern Illinois loss. So then. And then South Carolina takes care of Clemson, then Bama would slide to 12, dude.
That's crazy. But
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but
just talking about the game itself was.
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I can, because I've been saying it all year. I don't think the top SEC teams is as good as everybody keeps making. They're good. They're not great. Anyone can beat anyone.
What it boils down to is Milroe cannot throw, man. And we've kind of known this.
You mean Mel Kiper's top 5 draft pick at the quarterback position?
I never
get the hell out of here. Like Mel Kiper is a joke.
He cannot read defenses. Like hell, I remember watching Milroe like 2 years ago with Saban when whoever their quarterback was,
Bryce.
Bryce. Yeah, when Bryce Young got hurt against like A&M like 2 years ago. And it was like, okay, who is this guy? And then he was a quarterback the following year. He cannot read defenses, and when you throw mixed coverages in at him, he can't read it. And then if he can't run the ball, like I say, that is the equalizer of him. And it is a good night, senorita.
Oklahoma took all their rush lanes away, and they pretty much told their defense. They told their defensive line, "We're not twisting, we're not stunting. We just need you to, as soon as that ball snap, get upfield." And there are a lot of times.
More so surprising is why haven't other people implemented that?
Well, you got to have the guys. You got to have the guys.
Every SEC team should have those guys, though. That's the thing about it. Like,
I agree, but
you should. But I know what you're saying. You got
to have those guys, and I think whatever their front four rushed their lanes, and the linebackers pretty much covered up the lanes that were empty. And you could tell they were on him so fast, like he couldn't get out of the pocket fast enough. And the times he did have, they took shots down the field, and then you had an illegal touching by Ryan Williams. I mean, illegal formation to take away the Ryan Williams touchdown.
Awful. That was horrible, dude.
But yeah, officiating's just been bad all year.
No, but that was a complete, like, it was a complete bust. Like, it was like that did not happen at all. It was like I felt like watching it. I felt like the Oklahoma staff was in the ear, basically saying
the whole game.
Yes. And, well, no, just like I used to do it in high school. I would be like, they're lining up wrong. I would be like, I would just say it all the time. I would start saying it the whole game, and then I'd be like, see, they're lining up wrong. And then all of a sudden, you would get. I've gotten a couple flags that way.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like because the way the flag came out was, it was on the Oklahoma sideline, and Ryan Williams was halfway down the field, and then you just see the flag fly up in the air. It was almost like the coaches were in the ear of like, see, they lined up wrong again. Da, 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 da.
Yeah,
but
like, I mean,
he lined up wrong.
Even like, if they had that, you still had to score 2 more times to win.
No, I agree. I don't say they're going to win, but like that completely like iced it. It would have been a 14-point game, 2-score game with 14 minutes to go, because that was like right when the fourth quarter started. Again, that inexcusable to be down that much, anyways. So
exactly,
like the pick six that he had, like it was just like
he had 3 picks.
Dog was point shaving out there. I'm talking about the pick six where he tried to trip the guy. Like it was like the effort he gave to even try to make the tackle.
It was bad. Like, but even the other pick on the screen where the guy, like, what are your 2 receivers doing? You're throwing a screen and neither receiver blocks his guy, and the OU guy almost overran the pick on the screen where he jumps in front of, I think it was either Bernard or Williams, where he had to catch it with his back shoulder, because if he would have caught it clean, it was 6 the other way.
Here's the other crazy part too. How do you let Jackson Arnold rip off that many runs too? Like they ran it down.
He can't throw.
Like, and that's not even the Hawkins kid. Like Jackson Arnold ripped you guys a new one. Like it's DeBoer, obviously. But everybody's on his ass. But I'm like that loss was bad, dude. Like at me as a Bama fan was like, this is ugly, and I'm like, bro, like this is not good. Frozen Far. Let's see what he's got to say when he comes back in 5, 4, 3. All I know is Bama stinks, but they still got a shot to get in the playoff just because of their quality. Let's see. Let me pull it up. Go ahead. You're there. I'm listening to you.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like talking through it, how bad that game was. And you don't want to punish them for a bad game. But if you look at all their games outside of the first half of the Georgia game, and who did they play last week?
Well, they waxed Wisconsin like early in the year.
Yeah. The South Carolina game, they looked bad.
The Georgia game, they were lights out in the first half, held on in the second half. They lose at Vandy the next week. They hold on against Carolina the following week. They lose a late touchdown game to Tennessee on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Then they blew Missouri's doors out. They beat them 34.
He didn't really look that good against Tennessee.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Like I say, that's where now that's where I thought he might have gotten hurt in the Vandy game. Which as I say, I don't know, because it is what it is. But he didn't look good in those games for sure, because he didn't either A, run the ball nor try or whatever. I don't know. So like their best win was the 34-0 win against Missouri, and then they beat LSU. They won back-to-back, blew the doors out. They beat LSU and Missouri. So like, okay, and then they played Mercer.
Like in those 2 games, you're like, all right, this is Jalen Milroe we've been looking forward to seeing this season. And it's like outside of 2.5 games, they haven't really looked that good. Yeah. And that's all I've been saying this year. I
haven't been disagreeing. It's just more so of like, I look at the teams they lost to. Obviously, Vandy was an enigma. That was a bad loss. Vandy's been way better. This is not your grandma's Vandy, but this is a way better Vandy. But that was a bad loss. The Tennessee game, like that's a road game against a rival. You lose by a touchdown. Okay, so that's your 2 losses. But then you can't lose by 21 to a team that's 5-5 in the SEC this year. It's not one of the better teams.
Dude, Oklahoma has looked god awful this year.
Yeah, they have. That was what was so dumbfounding to me. I'm like, this team's terrible, But I mean,
and you're sitting there, and once again, you're playing. You still had a chance to get an SEC championship game.
Yeah, yeah. I guess maybe they didn't think they wanted to. Maybe thought they could backdoor in. I don't know, but it's like I say, it's
and then
the losing that game is like, I guess it wasn't like Oklahoma is one of the worst teams, definitely in the SEC, but it wasn't the worst. Mississippi State is the worst, and Kentucky is the next worst. Then Auburn's the third worst.
well,
then
then
Oklahoma.
let's head out to the plains.
You better beat. You better win because Auburn's talking shit. They feeling good about themselves.
No, I'm just saying for this past weekend, you head out to the plains, and you're like A&M. You're like 21 nothing. Like how in the world are you down 21-0?
Again, that's so unfat. Like they stormed back at least and made it a wild game. But
right.
I mean,
like 4 overtimes. But
this is exactly what we said. This is the way the SEC implosion got here on the board. The banner. This would be so SEC like that. A&M would lose to Auburn and then go beat Texas next week. You know what I'm saying? So like, that would be.
But you're hearing all the talking pundits talk about, hey, if you have Ole Miss play this team, blah, 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 blah. Anyone could get got. Stop with this team is supposed to be better than this team. I'm not disagreeing that Ole Miss is probably better than ASU or BYU or SMU.
Right. I guess,
but on a neutral site, I don't know what these kids are deciding. I don't know if they're thinking about hitting the club or whatever.
Here's what I would say, and that's where I think those teams are I think the upper teams in each, I'll take away Ohio State and Oregon. I think clearly I thought they were the two best teams all year anyways, but you take the top teams in the Big 12 and the ACC, and then the teams right after, like in like the Big 10, the Penn States and the Indianas of the world. That's where, I feel like anybody can get anybody. But I feel like the problem is with the depth. What I was saying last week is the depth of the SEC, where you're playing a 5-win Oklahoma or you're playing a 5-win Florida, like is better than playing fucking Purdue and Michigan State.
I'm talking about this point. I'm talking about this point where we're comparing teams for the playoff.
No,
like, it drives me nuts because it's like we can sit here till the sky turns black, gray, red. Ole Miss is better. I'm just saying,
Ole Miss or Arizona State? Would you take Ole Miss or Arizona State
going into the game? I would take. Of course, I would take Ole Miss. All I'm saying is, but you can't sit here and tell me that ASU does not have a chance.
No, I totally wouldn't say that for sure. But like I said, that's what I'm arguing.
I get
if you're trying to make a better playoff, to like if you're just picking no conference winners and you're just picking 12 teams to get in this thing and you didn't have any tie-ins or bowl buy-ins or whatever, that's the question is, would you put a 3-loss Ole Miss in over a 2-loss Arizona State team to put into the 12? That's
play. All I'm saying is why play the game then? Why are they out there playing football if you're going to predetermine what a team is going to do before they actually get on the field? Is all I'm saying.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is basically, so you're just arguing one loss more. That's what.
No. Because like Penn State, right? I'm not a Penn State fan. I don't think they're that good, but that defense travels, and they might be able to muster up enough on offense to beat a SEC team. It's not like the SEC teams are not light years better than everyone in the country. Is all I'm saying.
I totally agree with that. Like I say, the whole thing of the thing that I'm not in favor of now too with the playoff is like, I don't think the G5, like Boise State looks like ass, and like they're going to be an easy out for everyone. It's like they're a waste in my opinion, which sucks because they played really good. They stink now. Like winning games like by 3 against Baylor. Like,
I mean, you just got to give them opportunity.
You think Boise State should be in? Like if there was no G5 qualifier, like are they one of the 12 best teams? I'm just asking. Are they one of the 12 best?
If you go back to our preview show, I said the G5 shouldn't be in there.
I know. I totally agreed. It was like part of the rule.
Unless, just say Boise would have beat Oregon at the beginning of the year, and they play Oregon State. I'm not saying Oregon State's a world beater, but talent-wise, you would think Oregon State would have better talent in, just say, lines of scrimmage and whatnot. And, you win games like that, then you got to give them credit. I don't think whoever if they play Georgia in round 1.
They're playing Ohio State right now, technically. I sent
That's
you and Joe the
another.
line.
Yeah, that's another. No, that was Josh Pates. That's the other thing I hate.
That was from FanDuel. FanDuel, he got that from
Uh,
he works with
uh,
FanDuel, and he
I
said,
don't
"What would the
like.
lines be for these first round games?"
I don't
It's
like the.
you
They
can
got to do
create that.
something with the matchup. I don't know what you can do, but you can't have two Big Ten teams and
That's
two
the other.
SEC teams
That's
play
that's
round one.
that's the other part of it too. That's kind of lame with the way the
That's you
bracket is
just
right now.
yeah. You just
Like
they got to change that.
swap those so they can play against each other. You know.
You got to do kind of like what the basketball tournament does, saying that you can't play someone in the same conference round one or whatever.
Right.
I know
Yeah.
it'll be tough in some situations, but we can't have two teams from the same conference play,
Yeah.
especially if they potentially played each other already.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the other thing that would suck too. You know. But
Yeah,
again, like look at Ohio State's path here. Would be Arizona State. They're a 21-point favorite. Then they get Boise. So put them into the Final Four just like with no problem.
I'm not putting them through anything because they
Yeah,
haven't
I
been
would.
world beaters either.
I agree,
They've
but like
won.
they're better. They dominated Indiana after that first quarter.
I'm not talking about this past Saturday. I'm
I
talking
know.
about throughout the season.
Well, like I say, I think they've been kind of just ho hum, whatever. Like I just feel
Well,
like they're.
keep
I feel
ho
like they're
keep
way.
keep ho humming through the playoffs. Then
Yeah, like I will. They will ho hum all the way to the Final Four. Now, when they get the rematch with Oregon, which we're going to see, this is what's crazy too. They're going to play Oregon, in 2 weeks.
right, that's
So
what I'm
like
saying. Ho
they
hum
might not
through
be
that.
that 5 spot, or they could be the
Yeah.
bye. They'll get the bye. Well, they'll get the bye where they'll be sitting right there where Oregon's at. But
Mm-hmm.
like I say, that's again, if it were to play out this way, that'd be like the 5 spot is the gold money spot. Like it's
Yeah,
the perfect spot because
but
you're either going
but
to get the
like I
G5
say, over
qualifier or the worst
yeah.
12 seed or
I
whatever.
mean, you going back to the IU Indiana game, it's just Indiana looked like they were ready the first half. They did a decent job, and then, but if that offensive line for Indiana was not ready. They were not ready for those boys up front. The guys I've
No.
been criticizing all year, they showed up and they played. But Carnell Tate actually had a decent game where he bailed out Will Howard on some big third downs. The Indiana muff punt was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, then the Caleb Downs return. Hello, Caleb Downs. Welcome to the
Yeah.
25 college football season.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that guy's name all year, but it was just bad. I mean, Indiana only had 151 total yards, and
Yeah, no, like I say, and here's the thing. I think Indiana's actually a pretty good team. I do. And I
yeah,
think they could upset somebody, especially like I say, if they get a home game and it's cold weather, like they'd go to Penn State, which would suck. They didn't play this year, but like I say, that would be, a
yeah. You
game
don't
that
want to see that round one.
yeah, I'd rather see Notre Dame in Indiana or Tennessee in Indiana or Georgia, Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened was, going in, here's where this would have been interesting is if, Bama and Ole Miss would have won last week, would Indiana be out of the 12 would be the question,
Yeah,
right? Because they got them at 11 right now. So that would tell me that if you got 2 teams that were already in, they would be out. So
and they're still they need a big win against Purdue. They may have to do one of those, hang a number on Purdue.
I think they're locked in because I don't think anybody's going to come out to get them. Nobody's coming out to get them.
No, but I still
we're talking about Clemson and Bama would be the teams that come out to get them.
That's what I'm saying. But I think if Clemson hangs a number on South Carolina this week, they potentially, because that's a really good win.
What I think would happen would be, I think Clemson would then maybe take SMU spot if Miami was to beat SMU. So then I mean you could potentially get 3 ACC teams in, but
you could almost argue, depending on if both teams make it to the ACC championship game and just say SMU loses, because of those teams losing those 3 games, I could see the committee possibly letting SMU stay in at 12.
I agree, because here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what it's going to be. The Clemson South Carolina game is going to have big weight because if Clemson loses, they're done.
Even though I hope South Carolina wins. Fuck that, bro.
That's what I'm saying. I think Clemson's going to lose. I think South Carolina's going to put a number on them. I just do.
Yeah.
I think these teams are all in a sense, because I think what I said before. I think even if Georgia goes and loses to Texas, I think they stay in. They'll probably go to like 11 or 12, but I think that's going to be your 3-loss team. because I think they're going to give credit to them making it to the game, and they're not going to punish them like a Tennessee who just basically like, hey, Georgia, go play Texas. We're going to sit here at number 9 and we're good. So I think they'll punish Georgia unless Texas just boat races them, which, could happen. But that's where I think if Miami
yours is hurt again, so who
no,
knows?
I agree. What I'm saying is I think that they're not going to punish. So what I'm saying is like a SMU. I think SMU is in again, even if they lose to Miami in the ACC game, just because they've put themselves in position. As long as they don't get blown out, if Miami beats them 49-7,
that's how I feel.
You're talking about.
I feel like if Miami handles business this week, they're going to move up 1 or 2 spots probably in the playoff from 6, probably to 4, depending on how the weekend goes. They may stay at 6. There's potentially they can move up a spot, and I think potentially if they make it to the ACC championship game and lose, they have an outside chance of getting in.
That'll be a hairy, scary proposition.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't. It's Miami. Don't play around, and if you're undefeated, is one thing going into that game. But yeah, you lost that opportunity against Georgia Tech.
Well, like I said, that's where you're starting to argue the 3s versus the 2
losses.
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
Who is Miami beating versus who is Alabama beating, or who's Clemson beating, or whatever. No, like I say, I think it'll be pretty interesting. Like I say, as far as, like I say, we broke down the Gator game, we broke down Florida State, broke down Miami.
We can talk about Colorado, Kansas. I mean, there's still a couple games from this past weekend we could quickly get through.
Kansas played well,
dude. That was the
like I said, Kansas and Florida are playing like better than what they should be, and they're playing.
I didn't realize during the game that they had got a new OC, and Leopold basically told the OC, we're running the same stuff. You got to figure it out, how to run our offense and what we're doing. And that's a detriment to both people, right? The kids and the OC, not making excuses for them, but that's still learning language, learning how the kids play, who fits right in certain situations. Then, like I say, Jalen Daniels, I don't think he was 100% to start the season, but watching them, I mean, they beat 3 straight ranked teams. I mean, they beat 17 Iowa State, they beat BYU and Colorado 3 weeks in a row. So they're rolling right now. Not sure who they have this week.
Yeah, the sad part about it is they could be the best team in the Big 12. It's just they didn't
absolutely
get it done. They didn't get it done early.
Absolutely. That's just what happens in college football, right? I mean, your Gators the same way. They played a little better to start the season and knocked off a win here and there.
If Florida would have beaten Tennessee and Georgia, would we have a 9-3 shot of getting in the playoff? Could you argue with that 3-loss team?
I could argue that. Yeah, with that.
I think we said that on the preview show. I wanted to go back and clip that out because I think we both said with the Gator schedule, if they were to beat blah 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 and win 9-3, that's the only. 100%. I think that's the only schedule that would do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Georgia has actually the number 1 strength of schedule, but whatever.
Yeah, okay, top 3 schedule.
Yeah,
Florida have the top 3.
That's why Georgia is like number 7. That's why they're giving them those credit for a couple of those losses. But
I mean,
Kansas, man, they're playing really good ball. It sucks
Devin Neal.
We thought that could be that team.
Yep,
for sure.
Devin Neal, 300 yards of all-purpose yards. I mean, I only think the biggest takeaways from this game was just the dirty shots on Shedeur. Come on, guys. I get he talks trash and he's brash and all of that, but this is still a game. It's still football. You can't take dirty shots on people. I mean, I know a lot of people up in arms about Shedeur kind of shoving the ref in the back, and maybe he should have been ejected from the game. You can't touch the ref, but you just can't take dirty shots on a player. BYU, Arizona State, what a crazy ending.
That was pretty wild.
I mean,
who wants to win the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
They were talking about it. I heard it on one of the national shows. Like the Big 12 now, like I say, with all this cannibalization and beating everybody, could they get snuck out and not get in the playoff at all because of who's creeping up? We talked about them last week. The Tulane Green Wave, buddy. Like they're sitting at 17. So if they win the American, all of a sudden, what if you get some more? What if Oklahoma State beat Colorado? What if Arizona State loses to Arizona? What if BYU?
It goes. Basically, there's a 4-way tie with Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado. Yeah. Arizona State gets in just with a win over Arizona. It's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
Arizona hasn't looked good, but T-Mac and Fafita might bring some magic this weekend in the desert. Who knows? Then you got Iowa State. They're in. They just need a win against Kansas State. Kansas State's not an easy out for them.
Kansas State is not easy out. That's a great game.
Yeah. And then you got BYU. BYU needs to defeat Houston, ASU, or Iowa State loss. Still possible. And then Colorado got to beat the Pokes. And then they need 2 losses by one of the 3. I don't see that happening. I don't see ASU, ISU, and BYU, 2 of those 3 teams losing. That's so everyone controls their own path for the most part. Arizona State wins and Iowa State wins. That's going to be the Big 12. And I like you say, I could see them the committee just being like, sorry, Big 12.
You guys cannibalize each other. Nobody stepped up. Nobody stepped up to the plate.
Sorry.
You're all in the playoffs, guys. You're all in the playoffs. Let's win some games here late in the year.
Yeah.
Like win the important ones, you know. So all right, well, I guess let's transition into this week. Obviously the big matchup, we talked about our games. The biggest one is what's going to happen in this Texas A&M game. Is Texas for real? Is A&M going to get off the mat and not play so bad?
I wish I had the cash to go to this one.
Man, so I think it's going to be a good one. Is it
the most expensive ticket ever for a regular season game? They're talking. We're talking about.
I say the sad part is now. I literally thought about it. I'm like, damn. I'm gonna have to put this game on the big TV, and the Gator game's gonna have to go on the side TV.
This is the night game, the ABC game.
I'm pretty sure this is the night game. Like I'm pretty positive because I think I know game day's there, so I don't see why it wouldn't be 7:30 kick on ESPN because we're on ESPN too.
These teams haven't played in 11 years. They hated each other when they
7:30. Yeah, 7:30 kick. So the Gators will have a 30-minute head start.
when they were in the same conference, they hated each other. This used to remember when this was the Thanksgiving night game between them or Ole Miss. The Egg Bowl was the Thanksgiving night game, and they haven't done this in 11. Those people are going to be liquored up
it's crazy. It's crazy they haven't played that long.
Yeah, and we don't know the situation with Quinn Ewers. I know they did an MRI. I haven't seen anything else. I mean, clearly they have a capable backup in Arch.
Totally.
I'm kind of geeked up to watch this game because I could just be seeing it being a bloodbath. Like, I guess I would lean to Texas, but like we say, Texas in the big game hadn't really done anything this year.
Yeah, they what's weird about Texas, they haven't had a lot of big game opportunities either. Like we said about their schedule, they've shit the bed against Georgia way earlier in the year, and then they haven't had like a big signature game where Michigan was the game early in the year before we knew what Michigan was. Even going into that game, we felt like that Texas was clearly better and Michigan was going through a walk-on quarterback, all that. I feel like what the crazy part is, and I wouldn't say regress, but I feel like that defense that played at Michigan that looked so ferocious has been just okay. You know, they didn't play great against Georgia, and then they've been kind of like hit or miss, you know, in certain games.
But at the same time, in the Georgia game, you can't really blame them for their offense putting them in bad situations.
100%.
And to only give up 24, I think it was.
Yeah,
is not that bad.
It was 30 to 15 or something like that. 30 to 16.
I mean,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to give up 30 points where half of those points your offense pretty much put you in situations to where you got to hope that the dam doesn't break. And you know, I think their defense is still good. I mean, can Marcel Reese make enough plays this weekend? And
Reed's kind of gotten back to reality too, because teams are kind of getting on him a little bit.
I think
if you can't throw the ball, that's where they're in trouble. Because I think that's part of it. He's number one run. He's like a Milroe. He's like Milroe a little bit. You kind of shut his run game down a little bit, put pressure on him to make him make throws. That's where I think
I think their coach didn't help them last week by putting a bullseye on them too. Skipping ahead of Auburn. Oh, it's Texas week. Oh, my bad. It's Auburn. You know, all it takes is just little things.
It was okay. I guess you look at you know, since the Georgia loss, they played Vandy. It was a 3-point game, you know, at Vandy, but they were in control of that game the whole time. They scored late to make it 3. Then they killed Florida with a third-string quarterback, so you can't even get a gauge. That's not the Gator team.
Even the Arkansas game was tough for them.
exactly. And Arkansas has been a tough out, and that was a road game.
Yeah.
So games are just, when you look at the road and home splits of like what teams do at home and on the road. That's why, like, I think A&M is going to play really good at home, so it's going to be tough for Texas. But I think they eventually get over the hump.
I think in this game, who just comes in, gets through those first 20 minutes, settles in, and plays the game. Because, like I say, it's going to be hype beyond hype for this game, and the emotions of
you got to get your in check. You got to be in check.
Who gets in check and settles in the game and is able to play. But if you're on the Texas side of things, you hope Reed doesn't settle in fast and gets the game going.
Yeah,
and then
don't let him get hot. Don't let him get hot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he showed that this past weekend. They were down 21, and he was able to rattle off 21 quick points.
That's what I'm saying. They came back like it was like, wow, they're back in this game just for that. The whole.
And then
that's the other thing. Can we talk about the
play
overtime rules, dude? I hate this 2-point conversion shit.
I get it.
Dumb.
I mean, it's from that. Well, who did Arkansas play? It was from that Arkansas game a couple years ago where they went 7 overtimes, and
you can go all the way back to when Eli was Ole Miss and Arkansas. Like,
I'm not really a fan of it either. But I mean, what else can you do during the regular season to not let it extend?
I used to love those games when you got those 7 overtime games. What didn't happen all the time? That it was like A&M LSU a couple years ago on Thanksgiving or the Black Friday or whatever.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah,
like
I think it should be 3 quarters, 3 regular possessions, and then go to the 2. I don't think the 2 then going in the 2 regular possessions and then go to the 2-point conversions. Yeah, I think it should be 3, and then after the 3rd overtime of regular possessions, you could go to the 2-point. The 2 is I don't get the rhyme or reason of it, but
I hate it. I hate it because you're literally going to lose on a 2-point play, and like I say, for the way A&M like. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like that was the perfect dial-up.
He was trying to catch it all weird instead of just getting it in the body and falling, and just
that was so bad.
That was a terrible way to lose the game. That was a bad way to lose a game.
Yeah, but like I say, I like Texas.
Right now.
I like Texas.
I probably like Texas right now.
I don't know if I'd bet the line, but I think Texas wins the game. I think Texas pulls it out.
You know what? No, I'm going to A&M home.
Going Aggies.
Yep, home field.
Yeah, shoot
the Colt. The Colt. We'll leave that to side conversations about the Colt.
That's a white people thing. It's a white people thing.
I didn't say it. America, I didn't say it.
They got pitchforks and stuff. They're very white out in Aggie land. I don't know how those black boys go to school there. You got all these whites. It's a cult out there, and just watch the videos, people. Watch the videos of the what do they call it? It'll happen. Is that tonight? No, it'll be Friday night. The rebel cheerlead and all that.
Yeah,
man, that's some
on to the Palmetto Bowl.
Funky-ish.
On to the Palmetto Bowl in the great state of South Carolina.
Go Cox, baby.
Dabo's put out some basically fighting words out there talking about they're one saying the real USC is out in California, which I agree with, and talking about all these other teams and they're the
team of Clemson. They're the team of South Carolina.
Yeah, this is South Carolina team.
We're the flagship. Yeah. No, and he retracted his statements of like he never said you should pay players, yada yada, all that. He said that the other day too.
It's on wax, Dabo. I'm not a Dabo fan, so you already know who I want to win this game.
No, for sure. Like I say, and I think you look at Carolina, it could be a totally different season if that LSU game, the right call happens that game, you're a 10-2 team, and Carolina might be like playing for the playoff spot.
Even the Bama game.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
You figure out a way to win.
They had one bad performance where they got waxed by Ole Miss, and other than that, they played damn good. Like it's crazy to look at South Carolina's schedule and be like, damn, these boys, they beat the hell out of Kentucky. They had LSU down and should have had them beat. They get waxed. Then you got to play back-to-back games where you play a Bama and you lose that game, late, and then they beat the hell out of Oklahoma and A&M.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Then they beat the hot Vandy team. Then they had to beat Missouri. So like I just feel like they're playing better, and I feel like they played better.
Had like five TDs this past week.
Yeah, they
Something
played Wofford, but
crazy.
yeah. No, I feel like they've
I think
played the better opponents. I feel like they're playing better ball. Like
I
this
don't.
could get ugly if they play their game. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Speaking of like fans hating each other and fighting,
Oh yeah.
this
Dude, trust. I lived.
dude, this
You know
weekend,
me. I lived in Newberry. Went to school there for 2 years. So
dude,
I had the mixed match of like, okay, this guy was a
this
Clemson fan. This guy was a Carolina
hey,
fan.
that was me
Yeah.
when I was in
They,
Alabama, but we'll get to
yeah.
that. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
this weekend of rivalry is like on who no one cares about 18 versus 17. No one
Yeah.
cares about whatever Texas and Texas ain't. Like those fans could care less what you're ranked. But
100%.
I mean, Carolina fans probably care that Clemson 17, just the extra motivation. But
Right.
the hatred these people have for each other is beyond hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think the keys to this game, I think, is going to be the Clemson offense. If Clemson wants to win, they better be able to score points. And I think Carolina's defense is one of the better defenses in the country in the SEC. And clearly, like we said, we both agree that Sellers has to get going on the Carolina side of things. But Cade Klubnik and I don't know. I don't know. I'm going Carolina. I think
Yeah.
Carolina upsets Clemson.
Yeah, Carolina. I'm with you. I think. I mean, it's not even a 2.5 point spread, whatever, because that's the home at home. It's a pretty much pick 'em.
And
I think as long as
they own the rivalry at the moment.
yeah, no, they. I mean, you think about what our boy did to him the last couple of years. Why am I drawing a blank at quarterback?
Spencer Rattler.
Yes, old Rattler, the
Yeah.
Rattler. You know, yeah, they've.
I think this will be
dominated.
what, 3 in a row. If Carolina wins, this would be 3 in a row.
I think this would be 3 in a row. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I feel like you know, Klubnik. Do you see the Cade Klubnik stuff?
Mm-mm.
Some old. He's apparently a Todd Golden Jr. or something. Sending some stuff out to some ladies in class. You know, hey, why don't you go to the bathroom? Yeah, it's like, come on, Cade. And they put out some like old. They put out some old tweets.
It's not right. I don't condone it. Difference is age.
Yeah, no, for sure.
One's an administrator per se.
Here's the thing. I don't even know.
Golden still has a job. It's still beyond me.
Well, like I say, that means there must be something to the investigation that's kind of like, you know, frivolous or phony or whatever, you know, because there's no way, like the backlash that'll have on like UF and like, you know, like I say, it's almost out of sight, out of mind. It's like, okay, whatever, we'll deal with that later. But
it's sad, but yeah,
let's
keep those conversations offline.
Yeah, Cade's been doing some stuff, and so everybody, it might be Carolina fan. Who knows? Carolina fans could be spoofing this, you know, spamming. So I don't know, but I do like
it's something you don't play with. I
do like Carolina, and like I say, that's where, you know, what's crazy is if you were arguing 3 lost teams, I would say Carolina's better than Bama right now, even though they beat them. You know,
100%.
The way they're playing. That's what we look at down the line. So if you're going to argue. I would even take getting beat 27-3 against Ole Miss. I would say that Carolina's playing better than Ole Miss right now.
Yep.
So, you know, so that'd be a funny topic, you know, after this week to be like, okay, let's talk about these 3 lost. If it comes down to where you're talking about a Ole Miss, LSU, or Ole Miss, Alabama, or South Carolina, and they had to put one of those in that last spot, that'd be a funny scenario.
Yeah,
because
the only thing.
I'd be a fly on the wall in that room.
I would love to put South Carolina ahead of them, but you got to factor in head-to-head, and that's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because you look at Ole Miss beating them 27-3, and then Bama did win, so it'd be a tough whatever. But other games, obviously, there's some good rivalry games. There's some good games this week. What else you got pegged that you're intrigued about?
Obviously, the non-big game, in my opinion, even though they call it the big game. Michigan, Ohio State.
Can they cover that?
Yeah, I think they cover.
21.
Yep, you got that. And then who else? I got the Egg Bowl. Once again, throw the records out.
Don't lose that one. Don't lose that one, Lane.
That's the one. Thank God Elijah Moore is in the NFL. He's not going to be acting like he's next to a fire hydrant. Yeah. So, you got to figure out that one. Who else I got? Tennessee Vandy, another heated rivalry.
That's kind of an interesting game, just because like Tennessee, you're in the playoffs. Don't screw around and lose to Vandy, dude. Because Vandy would do nothing more than to like put you out of the
and is at
playoffs.
Vandy. And is
Yeah,
at Vandy.
that's what I'm saying.
I expect a lot of Vandy fans there this
that's
week.
a sneaky,
And
like that little noon slate there. You got to have 3 TVs for the big game:
I'm
Ohio State,
telling you,
Michigan,
man. Hey,
Tennessee, Vandy, and South
Vandy
Carolina, Clemson. That's
sleep.
3 nooners.
They
That's 3
better not
nooners.
sleep. They better not sleep
Along
on
with
Vandy.
your boys play at noon. What time is y'all's game? 3:30.
3:30. The 3:30
Okay.
ESPN ABC game. The other one, obviously, I know Justin is probably like
Yeah, no,
nervous.
Georgia Tech should be good this year because Georgia Tech is capable. So
Georgia Tech's capable, and
don't
they'll play
sleepwalk
them
through this
close.
thing. You know, they
I think
always it's weird. They either play them close or they get their doors blown off.
and then
I think
Carson
they're going to
turning
play
the
them close.
ball over helps. You know, if Carson plays a clean game and he doesn't turn the ball over, I think Georgia wins. But if he does turn the ball over, hey, don't count him out. Pokes against Colorado. Obviously, we outlined why this is a big game for
You believe
Colorado.
you believe that Gundy might go over?
I believe it.
You know they haven't won a conference game this year.
Yes.
And we thought they would be like maybe in the top like 2 or 3 teams. Like,
let me put it to you like this.
has the game passed Mike Gundy by? Is he done? Like,
if Devin, it might have. He's not 40 anymore. If Devin Neal had 300 yards of all-purpose yards, I got a guy at Oklahoma that's better than Devin Neal, and I like Devin Neal.
Yeah.
Even though Ollie Gordon hasn't done a damn thing this season, Ollie should have about 30 carries this week.
Yeah.
No, because Colorado can't stop the run.
Yeah. The other couple that I'm interested in is can Notre Dame close out against USC? Mm-hmm. You know, USC's been so bad, but like they're in so many one-score games that it's just like they're in the game, so it's going to be tight. So does Notre Dame flex on them and beat them bad, or can USC pull the upset at home?
And
how many
recruits does USC lose before that game?
Right. Yeah, for sure. The other game that I'm intrigued by is Cal at SMU, because SMU, you're on the line here, buddy. You know, you're playing for
the lights are on.
And Cal's a very capable one of those wild card teams that's been funky all year.
Yep.
And then, like we said before, I'm intrigued by the Kansas State Iowa State game just because it's 2 ranked opponents.
And don't forget Memphis Tulane. Memphis has been a pretty good team this year, and Tulane's on the fringe.
Tulane, I love Tulane. So I played Jakar last night with Tulane and beat them.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And then the one that my people love, the classic, the Bayou Classic, Grambling versus Southern, staple in a lot of households growing up. Shout out to our boy Sam on the coaching staff for Grambling. I hope you're working hard, Coach, and listening to the podcast while you're dialing up some stuff,
dialing up some defenses.
Yeah, he said this is when he listens to it when he's in his office.
In the zone, the Grambling man, baby.
Yeah, but that's always been a great game to watch growing up, you know, on Thanksgiving, you know, Grambling versus Southern, the bands at the half and all of that.
I'm trying to pull up I want to see the records on those teams right now.
I think Southern is the leader in the SWAC.
Are they?
I think so. I could be wrong, but I think so. And I know Grambling, they had a tough year this year.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
they're playing for a bowl. I mean, they're 5-6. So yeah, they beat Alabama State 2 weeks ago. They lost to Bethune by a field goal a couple weeks ago, and then they beat Alabama State, lost to Alabama A&M by 4. And like I say, Southern is your they're 7-4. They're 6-1 in conference play. So like I say, Southern's playing better ball right now. But like I say, anything can happen in the old Superdome, Mercedes-Benz, or whatever the heck.
Yeah, we forgot about not to hop off of this game. Like he said, good luck this week, Sam. We forgot about the Iron Bowl, buddy.
Yeah, totally. Like
how did we forget about the Iron Bowl?
That's how much of an afterthought that like Bama losing to Oklahoma was for me. I'm like, good God. Yeah, Auburn players are talking shit. They're feeling real good
Dude,
about after beating A&M.
I know.
Like I say, I don't know what to say because Bama has been the proverbial Jekyll and Hyde team, and we've seen it to where they could look, wow, this is amazing.
They
Where
better
it's
be
like,
happy
whoa,
that
what we saw last week.
yeah,
I mean,
they better be happy the game's at home as well.
I think Alabama wins just because Auburn's not as good. But I mean, can you carry over momentum to this week? You know, maybe like for Auburn to have a chance to win the game, they got to carry over some of that momentum.
Yeah.
From the A&M, but a lot of times that like leaves you, you know, and so. But I mean, take the game plan of what Oklahoma did. Just say, you know, don't let Milroe beat you on the ground, and then
you got the horses. And speaking of crazy fans, I remember when I was at school at Alabama State, and one of my teammates' brother was the fullback for Bama. He was for Bama, and he fumbled the football, and it cost them the game. Boy, speaking of death threats,
yeah,
I was just like, what? Like it being in that state for that game was next level. It was next level. I didn't think it was obviously, you know, Florida State, Florida, Georgia, nowhere near Alabama.
Well, like I say, I mean, you can go back to the guy poisoning the trees, and you know, at Auburn, the Bama,
Toomer's
you know, he
corner,
killed. He literally put poison and killed the trees, you know, at Auburn. Like, you know, he went to jail for that. You know, it's like
this might have been the week to listen to Feinbaum.
No, definitely Legend. Our boy Legend, he went slap off. Ricky's like, I guess Legend's upset. I guess Legend's upset. I'm like,
he's definitely.
I love dude, Legend
happy.
is like, I love, you know, sometimes tuning into a Feinbaum show just to like hear the rants of like some of these people. Man, it's fans across the country for different teams are wild.
Speaking of crazy fans and all of that, we didn't even talk about all the craziness that happened this past weekend with your boy Princely trying to beat up fans down in Gainesville. You got the fans at JMU throwing snowballs at who did they play?
Yeah.
And then you got the cameraman trying to knock the ball out of the Marshall player at the end of the game, and the Marshall player is about to beat up the cameraman. Like, what? Did you see the fan trying to?
Like again, I'm telling you,
game.
It was like after COVID. Like I think people like being locked up and just like the like all the even going back to watching all that when people started going back to games again in the last 3 to 4 years. Like the fights that happen in the stands, like we could literally do a show on that. It's like people like you guys are idiots, man. Like what are we doing here? Like,
within the fan at the ASU BYU game, he's trying to to fight coaches and play. That's why I don't. That's the whole the storming of the field thing that drives me nuts. Is
that's dangerous.
I want the kids
like a mob. It's a mob. It's like a mob, man. Like so.
But I want the other team to get off the field first.
Yeah. No, like I say, you think about it. If they want to go at the opposing quarterback and just like mob him, they could. And like that, that's that's scary.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the one thing I'll give.
Most people aren't really thinking to do that. But I mean, shit, you never know. You're talking about 70,000. There's some bad apples on that field.
As much as you guys get on to me about not giving the Gators credit for anything, I give the University of Florida
they don't
credit on. They don't play with that. They don't play with. You're not storming the field.
Yeah, even if old ball coach is trying to tell you to do it, we ain't doing it.
The presence, the police presence at the
end
of those games.
Like literally, there's a policeman with a dog every 5 yards around the entire perimeter.
They do not play with that.
Ben Hill Griffith. Like I say, like it's. You know, like I say, it's luckily there hasn't been any incidents. There has been, but there hasn't been like any major incidents. But again,
what if Princely would have hit somebody?
That's where like that was crazy to be like you're up at because what's funny is that gate is where mom and dad's where our old season tickets are. It's gate 18 where you go up the ramp and start going up.
I remember.
And then down below is where you basically like the players' entrance and all that. So, you know, it was always cool because we were right there to basically go down, and it's accessible because you could literally be up the ramp talking down and be like, "Yo, blah blah blah." Like, you know, and for him to come,
it doesn't matter what anyone's. It doesn't matter, especially when you wore the Pooh Shiesty Florida mask.
like I say, it's
heading
like
to
I say, it's
Gainesville and
if you dish it, you got to take it. It's just like,
yep,
you or I
100%.
talking trash or Ricky or who, like if you dish it out, you got to be able to take your wins and
Yeah.
losses. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So like again, this is where again, and I know you call me bluff on this, is like where yes, I love the Gators, and I've gotten to the state and age of where I'm like, I'm not going to live and die by this. So it's like I'll be upset, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it anymore. 20 years ago, I was crying in the bushes and doing whatever. But this day and age, I can easily move on from my losses and be like, you know what? The Gators, I mean, I didn't lose any sleep over that Texas loss 3 weeks ago. I slept great. Now, if Florida loses to Florida State Saturday, will I be upset? Hell yeah, sure. But the sun will come up on Sunday.
Sponge is like, we're not going out tonight. We're not going out tonight.
You guys go.
I still remember that. That was the Tennessee-Florida game.
Yeah, that was
Jason
9/11.
Witten was in college.
9/11, buddy. That was
the makeup game.
Yep. Travis effing Stevens, man. And then Tennessee went on to lose in the SEC championship game.
We're not going out tonight. Well, you were
exactly. That was
there were some moments, man. There were some moments that we cannot talk about on this podcast.
That's where my fandom of that was my fandom of like, oh my, like again, these people are crazy, man. Like it's just I don't know, man. It's like
no, you weren't trying to fight anyone. You were just
no. There's
a difference between trying to fight someone and
well, even what I'm saying is like in all actuality, it is just a game for our entertainment, and like you can't like live and die by it. Like some of the fandoms of like baseball teams or NFL, like these NFL fans, it's like, dude, it's like move on.
Yeah,
like you want your team to win
every week. Like you said, every week you just go on YouTube or Twitter, there's going to be fights in the stands, and it's like
wild, man.
It's not that serious, especially when the ones that are guys that are hitting women, and it's like, dude, seriously, like
it's
you should be locked up automatically, regardless of what she said or did to you. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You just go to games, enjoy it, have a good time. I know we all get a little liquored up before the games.
Yeah, you want to win. You want to win and all that for sure. But again, at the end of the day, only one team's going to win the national title. Only one team's going to win the Super Bowl. Only one team's going to win the World Series,
conference championship.
It's just like again, I want the Gators to be back relevant to where we're in playoff. I want to be like you guys. I want to be like Miami this year, where you guys lose 1 or 2 games, you're in the playoff talk, you're going to the SEC championship game. So like, I want to be in the top 10. I want to be relevant. And so, so hopefully we're on the meter up. And like I say, we could talk like, again, Florida and Florida State and Miami, when they're good, that was the fun days of, then you got the other SEC teams, the Bamas and the Georgias and the Tennessees of the world, along with some of the other blue blood teams, So like I say, it's sad that we're at the end of the year, but now we're at the fun part. And now we get a whole new perspective on what our favorite sport is going to be with this playoffs. And like I say, the chaos has been great. Like I say, they talk about the importance of games and was going to be minimized because there's going to be 12 spots. And I completely disagree with that. The games have been more important because your season lasts longer. We're all the way here to where Miami is basically, a loss from Syracuse this weekend and you're toast, to whereas like previous years, you guys, if that Georgia Tech game could have been you're out. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to make the Final Four. You know what I'm saying?
Still, you could have went 10-1 and still out.
Exactly. You could have. Yeah, that Georgia Tech loss could have ended your season. That Notre Dame, Northern Illinois, it ended your season. But now, so now I think games are more important. Like the one thing that I'm gonna not like is how they play. Now this will be we'll get a good check. Is the whole. What do you do with the teams who do make it to the conference championship? Do you punish them? All that stuff with a loss, yada, yada. We're going to find that out. And then I don't love the fact that you could have potential like 3 times to play teams, dude. Like that's going to be like, but again, I don't think there's anything you do about it.
I think they can. Now, will they? That's 2 totally different things.
I mean, here's there's really nothing they can do about it because if you're playing in the regular season, that's already on the schedule. And then
No,
if
no,
you
no.
clear
I'm talking about like the seeding. The seeding. Like
yeah, yeah.
you can't you
Well,
can't
what I
do
mean
anything
is,
about Oregon playing Ohio State for a third time. Like at the
yeah,
end
no,
of the day, Ohio
if
State's still one of the better
if
teams
they
in the
keep on,
country, and they just
exactly, if they get in the playoff and however they're seeded,
yeah.
they're going to eventually match up if
So
they're the best teams.
the one thing I'm curious to see if they will change eventually. Someone I saw on Twitter brought up a good point of if you're the overall number one seed, you should have the advantage of being the overall number one seed with the easier path. Will they try to reseed week to week? Just say,
Right,
reseed. Just say the number one overall will always play whoever the lowest ranked team in as the weeks go by. So just
right.
say Boise State was number 12, and will they? You get what I'm saying. Will they reseed and always play the lowest ranked team going forward?
Right. Yeah. No, like I
I
said,
think I think they should. If you're the overall number one seed, you should get that benefit.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. So like I
But
say, it'll be
I think they're going to tweak it. I honestly think as the years go by, they left themselves some flexibility to tweak it. But and then this year is one of those. It's a weird year when you look at all the teams and the conferences and how everything's playing out. And it's the first year. We'll see as
yeah,
the
that's what
time
I'm
goes
saying.
by.
That's what I'm saying. There's no reason to today to debate any like the
Yeah,
hypotheticals are out the window. Let's see what happens these games. Then we'll
yeah.
look at
But
conference
it's
championship week, and
but
then
it's
we'll figure it out
also
from there.
but it's also on the conferences to try and balance out their
No,
schedules.
that's the biggest thing that's got to
But
happen. You gotta have
but
balance, a schedule balance for sure.
but with that being said, some factors you can't control is a Michigan being bad this year.
No, for 100%.
No,
Like
no,
I say, that's
I'm
that's
just
not
saying, like,
and that's not Indiana's fault. That's not
yeah,
Texas's fault. It just is what it
exactly.
is.
Yeah,
Like you're gonna have that. Like hell, for all the people that thought Florida State was gonna be good on the schedule this year, it didn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So Florida State ain't doing Miami or Florida any favors. With being that bad this year.
No,
So it's more so of like it just is what it
but
is.
like, how do you when you have 18 teams? How do you balance it out? It's going to be interesting to see how the Big Ten and SEC try to figure it out when it comes to their schedules. But it's like you say, Indiana, your only team you played in any other year. If you look at the last 5 years, if Indiana was good, Michigan and Ohio State would weight their schedule differently than
Right.
it does this year.
Yeah.
So then people couldn't say, "Oh, their schedule sucks," because
Yeah.
those
No, like I say,
usually two
it's
games is usually what most teams have. Two
what's
like
what's
big time.
yeah, what's wild is the fact of I guess the crazy part is we're seeing like the imbalance being so like severe to
Yeah.
like the three teams. The three teams are Texas,
Yep.
Penn State, and Indiana. Like when you look at those, like they're both in the big boy leagues and they both haven't played any big time games
Yeah.
except for Texas will be in A&M this week.
And
Indiana
then
finally played Ohio State. Ohio State played Penn State, and that's
and then
it.
you look at
I'm saying?
Georgia's schedule.
Right,
Like
exactly. Look at Georgia and like
toughest,
Bama's schedule. It's
but then
like
you look at Georgia's schedule the last 3 or 4 years.
no,
Remember,
exactly.
one of
No,
the biggest gripes
trust.
of
They
Georgia
had
fans,
the imbalance. Trust. I used to get on Justin and Kenna, all them. Like you
yeah,
guys
because
ain't
they
played
didn't
no
play
damn
any.
buddy.
Like when
Exactly.
you looked at the Georgia schedule outside of the Florida game, you're like, if
Well,
I'm a
like I say,
Georgia fan, I don't want to pay for
hardest
season tickets to this
yeah,
crap.
the hardest thing they had to do was win the SEC title.
Yeah,
To be and like I said,
like
that's where it was hard. It was hard, but
so. So we've talked about how long A&M has been in the conference, 11 years. How many times has Georgia played A&M?
yeah, it's like a minimum. Like I don't even
I
know
don't
how many
think
times
they've
they played.
played. I don't think they've played Texas
How many
A&M.
times? And here's the sad part: how many times have we had to play A&M? And guess what? How many times have we had to go to College Station?
That's
It's
what I'm
like
saying. Yeah,
it effed us, man. We went to College
yeah,
Station like 4 times, dude.
yeah. And Georgia's been zero.
And guess what?
Like,
We're going next year. We're going next year.
how does that happen?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
saying.
as a conference, even before this season, how does Georgia they've never been to Texas A&M, and they've been in the conference since and for
Yeah,
11 something years.
yeah. We've like A&M's our rival now. Like like we play.
It feels like it. They've taken over for Auburn,
Yeah,
because remember
yeah. We have.
Auburn was your other team
Yeah, right.
from the West.
Yeah, it's always LSU, and then it used to be like Auburn would rotate through.
Yeah, you got to have a 2. I don't know if Sankey's thinking about still doing the pod thing, the 4 pods or whatever,
Right.
but I just feel like
It
that's
felt
part.
weird. It felt weird too this year. Not playing your SEC, like not playing
Yeah,
Vandy in South Carolina.
yeah.
Just.
But
I mean, it is what it is. But
I think that's part of the whole college experience too, is being able to, if I go to Florida, I'll have the opportunity to go to
College Station
Tuscaloosa,
or
College
Tuscaloosa or
Station, or the
Austin.
Grove, or like, how many times have you guys been to the Grove?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've
It's
been
been a
at Ole
long
Miss.
time. Because how long have we been talking about making that a possible road trip, going to the Grove? And
Yeah,
you
I
guys
have to go
haven't
back and
played
look.
at Ole Miss in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been
Yeah,
a minute
so
for
it's
sure.
and that's what part of what the fans love too, is being able to go on these road trips and experience these different things. And like the conferences just got to figure it out. And even if you do a
And
2-year,
I think they do. I think they will. I think they will figure that out, the scheduling imbalances, and make that right. And then I think you tell me if you agree. I think we're on the verge of going to 16 from 12 too. I think it's going to go to 16 like in 2 years.
yeah,
I think they're going to expand.
literally 2
Yeah,
years. I thought it was 14, but yeah.
14 doesn't make sense. Like 16, just make it like the NFL 8
So
8 and 8.
do you give the conference champs bye weeks?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what to do with that, because you're gonna have more than you're gonna have. Yeah, I guess you could do that still, but or you just play it off like a 16 and let's go. Just like do a
Yeah.
bracket of 16, like a Sweet 16 or
I mean,
a
I think
NCAA bracket.
you gotta at least reward the
Yeah, if you're already got
top
bye weeks
seed.
built in, no,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Like I say, it'll be
But here's what'll suck. If they go to 16, I think the first 2 rounds should be on college campuses.
no, for sure. I definitely agree with that, and like that may be a caveat. And like I say, well, here's
Yeah.
where you're gonna get all these 3-loss teams in there now, and then like now,
Yeah, we'll worry about that in 2 years.
yeah,
But
well, that's what makes it fun, is the fact that we
you're
always
not
want to
out
see
of
one
it.
of these, like a Carolina, for example, a team that we're talking about, like a hot team, like
This would be a playoff game, Carolina
right,
Clemson.
yeah. I
This would
mean,
be, you win, you're in.
they're still talking about they got fringe potential, but yeah, no, definitely in a
But I'm saying
16. Yeah,
2 years, that this, just say if we were 2 years from now and
like I
we're
say,
sitting where we're at.
do you want expansion from 12 to 16? Would you want to see it that way, or like, are you happy with the 12? I mean, we haven't even watched it play out, so I mean, I guess let's watch it play out.
I'm happy with 12, and I wish we would give 12 at least 3-4 years
Right.
before we hop to 16. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it. It's not 4. It could be 38 and we're still going to complain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we'll find something.
I think 16 is a good number, because again, you're talking about teams who really have it. Here's what I think is going to even happen with the 12. When it all boils down to it, if Oregon and Ohio State are the 2 best teams, one of them is going to be in the national title. They're going to make the cream rises to the top.
I think
all these other teams are just playing to play. We're just watching games, which is great.
once they get to 16, it'll be easier to say, all right, Miami and SMU, you're both in.
Right.
As long as your records hold the weight, you're both in, because you play your conference championship game.
Yeah, they're in,
Georgia,
and probably Clemson's in.
Yeah, Georgia, Texas A&M, you're in. You're both in. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like, as long as like one of the teams doesn't have 4 or 5 losses, and it's one of those weird years where there's one good team and then there's everyone else. I think that as long as both teams hold their weight, if you go to 16, I think both conference, at least for the big 3.
True. Yeah. No, I'm with you. So like I say, we'll see what happens. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving with your fam. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy
Thanksgiving. Enjoy football.
Enjoy the final week of college football before we get to the championship week.
Can my Bears upset your Lions tomorrow?
I don't think so, buddy. I don't
think
so.
Caleb's been playing decent. I wish
he has been playing. He has been playing better. I just think
Thomas Brown, Thomas Brown made a difference.
Detroit,
Detroit's a machine.
They've been really good, and then they've been kind of let teams hang around a little bit too. But like they're freaking good, man.
Someone said something funny. They said all Detroit looks forward to is putting a check mark on their checklist. Get Gibbs, Montgomery a touchdown. Let Amon-Ra get his touchdown and passes.
He
and
didn't get one last week.
I know, but then
he
get
had like a 14. How many? I don't know how many games he had consecutive, but it was like a record.
It was 8. It was 8. And then they said the last thing on the check mark on the checklist is get a tackle fade, tackle fade route. Hey, Ben Johnson be dialing it up, man.
No, like I say,
dials it up.
That offense, when you look at those weapons, Goff playing really good ball. You got, like I say, the two-headed monster at running back.
And the best offensive line in the league.
Offensive line's really good. And like I say, defense is freaking chippy too, man. Like they're good, man. They like
hey, Shahid Khan. We're just saying.
Yeah,
there's a guy in Detroit and there's a guy in Houston.
The problem is everybody wants those guys. So who's got the most attractive
typical
spot?
Situation for the Jags? What they got to do is overpay.
Yeah, do it. I agree.
There's a guy in Detroit and a guy in Houston.
Oh, Ben Johnson is definitely he's dead set. Like that's who I'd want. Like I'd take Slowick too, but Ben Johnson is like the guy.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all this Belichick talk. Where's he going to end up too? It's just like,
and I'm curious what the Bears do. Do they keep Eves or fire him? And if they fire him, hey, big polls. There's a guy in Detroit and a guy in Houston.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So everybody's thinking that. So Ben Johnson's got his pick of the litter. So who's going to pay me the most? And what's the most attractive thing? Do I want to go coach Trevor Lawrence? Do I want to coach Caleb Williams? Do I want to coach Dak Prescott? I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bill B's still out there too.
That's what I'm saying. Belichick's going to be an interesting dude, I was watching the Manning cast for the first time in a while. It was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed Monday night. I watched about a good.
It's hard. I like it, but it's just hard for me to watch that and watch the game. I like focusing in on the game a little bit.
No, I agree.
But if it's a turd type game, I don't mind watching the Manning cast.
Yeah, it was the first.
It's just informative. I mean, giving their opinions on things and their outlook and how they're seeing it and calling out the plays and what they would do right there is good. Peyton and Eli are really really good.
No, for sure. Like I say, I was like, man, I hadn't watched that in a while, and I was like, this is actually, I'm enjoying this. Like what they should do.
And then Bill has been phenomenal doing TV.
Yeah, dude. Here's what was crazy, dude. Like literally, Baltimore lines up, and he's like, "This is a legal procedure," and then boom, but like before, like he saw it like immediately, and I was like, nobody false started. It was the tight end moved in motion and it made the formation illegal, and it was just like he saw it immediately, dog. I'm like, God, dang.
I think this is kind of an audition for him to still show that he's sharp. He's still in the game, being at 72. He's still, he doesn't look like a normal 72, and he's not talking like a normal 72. But I think he's still trying to get that all-time wins record. But listening to him and Saban have been great this year, man. Saban
he's been awesome.
Yeah, especially on game day and in McAfee show, doing his breakdowns and everything. And it too bad those two don't have a podcast. How awesome would it be, Saban
who knows,
and
that
Belichick?
Could be coming down the line or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they've been talking about it, but just them and have the right third person to keep it on the rails and throw a little humor in it would be phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. All right, dog.
All right, man.
I gotta take Cruz dude to the park. Go pick up we're doing the Cracker Barrel heat and go. So they got all the smorgasbord that
nice.
I'm not cooking. I'm gonna cook that stuff instead of going to the grocery store and doing all that. I ain't doing all that.
Taking the day off.
Taking the day off, just throwing some stuff in the oven, basically heating it up.
There you go.
Heating it up and serving it. So,
hey man, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a good one.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure.
All right, people.
See you
everyone
Saturday.
Enjoy it. Holler, yes, sir. Saturday, got some wings. DH has got the ribs on deck. So yeah, we're good to go.
Like, subscribe, share. Hey, throw us some comments, man. Throw us what you want to talk. We haven't talked. I guess next week we'll talk about Heisman since we'll have more time. Recap Heisman. Get ready for Army Navy conference championships.
Holla at your boys.
Later.
Go Gators. Beat those Noles. Go Canes.